Hey guys and gals, welcome back to another Monday evening live stream. I'm your host, Ken Esch, joined by Jason Cook, and we've been working at this one for a while. I think I first reached out to Jason, or somehow we got connected, I'm going to say about a year ago. And I was kind of following along with the work Jason's got going on, and we're going to dive into a bunch of that. But he's doing some really cool stuff down in Panama, like super awesome. You got to go follow the work that he's doing. But I finally, after following along with what he was doing for a while, I reached out and said, "Hey, you got to come on the podcast." Well, that's been about a 6-month process. So we finally were able to work it out where we both had time to, at the same time, to come together and do the podcast. So with that, Jason, welcome to the podcast.
I appreciate it. It has been a journey, hasn't it?
It has.
So you know, guys, that happens.
Yeah, it's like we've got two journeys of our own going along together and trying to make those come together just for a few minutes to do something like this. Sometimes that can be a challenge when trying to manage multiple people's schedule to find one time slot that works.
I hear you.
Yeah, especially, let's see, you're Panama, is that Central or South America?
We're the last country before South America. So we're at the very southern tip of the Americas, Central America.
Yeah, gotcha. What time zone would you be in then?
We're the same time as you are, but you change and we don't.
Gotcha. The daylight savings thing. I heard rumblings that they might be doing away with that. It wouldn't hurt my feelings if they did.
I hated it when I lived in the U.S.
Yeah. How long have you been down in Panama?
So my family moved down here in 1981. My mother were missionaries, and my mother's still here doing her work. And I left Panama in 1990 or 91 and went to the U.S., had a trucking company in the U.S. for many, many years. And then in 2009, I decided to come back to Panama. And that's when we first started our first business here.
Right. Okay. So I imagine you said in 91, you came back to the States. And then 2009, you went back. Was that kind of a culture shock being away for 20 years and getting back to that down there? Or what's the difference in lifestyle there?
Day and night.
Day and night. Figured probably.
Yeah. So in the U.S., you have everything at your fingertips. Here, you got to work for everything. So if I need any parts or anything, I have to drive 100 miles to get them. And it's just everything's more laid back. In the U.S., it's more of a productive type of society. Here, it's like more family oriented. So people seem not to get in that big of a hurry. And I can't say one's better than the other because I see the good in both, right?
Right. Yeah, definitely there is. I have some friends here from, and I can't remember where down in South America, but he said that the biggest shock for him when they moved to the States, I think back when he was a teenager, he said the biggest thing that was hard for him was that difference, the fast pace and slow pace. Like he was used to when somebody shows up at your house, you just stop everything and you spend time together. You bring out all the food and you have a barbecue and you're just together as people, as friends. And he said here in the States, it's not like that. Like you don't show up unannounced because even with friends, like you might get the cold shoulders. Like, what are you doing here? I'm busy. I got stuff going on. You need to move along here or help.
Yeah. Give me a couple days notice.
Yeah, for sure. Is that kind of what it's like in Panama?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially in my neck of the woods. I mean, I'm in the Darien sector, which has gotten a lot of media because of all the immigrants coming through the gap. But, especially in our area, we're, the tribes that we work with are basically community mentality. So, it used to be a lot better. I mean, we've seen some separation and some splits in the community just because modern day life is coming in. And but yeah, they still have that family, that unity. If they need help, they stop and they go help. Or if someone comes over, it's like you sit down and you visit and have a good time,
Sure. Yeah, I wish we would be a little more like that. But I mean, on the other hand, too, I like the being able to be productive. I mean, it's
That's
how can you
difficult.
marry the two worlds and get the best of both and leave whatever's not good behind? I'm not sure if that's
It,
possible.
it's difficult. And, you know, we had and still have a lot of difficulty with that because, you know, starting with my father, he never came down here to change traditions. So,
Right.
you know, like the tribal women, you know, back in that day, they'd run around, you know, without a shirt on, and that was fine for them, you know. And so he never wanted to like change that about him. He just wanted to share God's love and like draw
Mhm.
them in by example. And and over the years, I mean, you know, we've been able to establish ourselves, you know, what the Embaran, the Wonan tribes down there, just because they know that we're not in it for something. And that you know, that brings it to our first company that we started in 2009. We went into that with the same mentality of creating opportunities, eh, but maintaining tradition. So our first
Right.
company we established in 2009 was actually off a Craigslist ad from a girl in Boston.
Huh.
And she was looking for a raw material supplier for a natural dye that comes from a fruit that they do like henna tattoos. It's called hagua.
Okay.
And the hagua tattoo stains black instead of a rusty red color that henna does. So it's a safe alternative to what they call black henna, which is a chemical that they use in shoe polish mixed with henna. So that's where all this began. And so we started supplying her, and we soon found out that, you know, the market was a lot bigger than just supplying one person. So we started building relationships all over the world, supplying this. And you know, so the tribes that we work with, you know, the men will go out and pick the fruit. They actually crawl up in the trees and pick the fruit, and then we have a factory down there that processes it, and that's where the women come in and they process.
Gotcha.
So we pay, you know, a lot better than what they could be farming something, because it's cash money. And also this fruit, until we came along, had no market in the world. So this was no investment. They didn't have to plant. They just had to go pick and bring it to me. They made money. I mean, it's like
Yeah,
free
it's a
money.
no-brainer. So is that something that grows naturally, or like they don't have orchards to farm that? They just pick it out in the wild?
It's wildcrafted from the jungles. And we actually created a policy about 2 years in, that we train the people how to prune the trees. And once you prune a wild tree will produce anywhere from 1,500 to 2,000 fruit, just
Wow.
wild. But the problem is getting all the way up in the canopy to pick the fruit, you know.
Sure.
So what we did is we started pruning them, and it takes about 2 years for them to recuperate from the prune. But once you prune the tree, now that production of 15 to 2,000 fruit turns into, we've had trees that had 5 and 6,000 fruit. Yeah.
Wow.
So, and that's what's on my hands, by the way.
Okay, I wondered about that.
That is the dye. I was actually processing some going to Japan.
Wow.
So yeah, so we've been able to export to over 50 countries. At first, we had dealers in different countries, and they would take the raw material, make it into a ready-to-use product, and then sell it to the market. Now we're getting more into direct-to-consumer. So we're partnering with different people around the world that will actually bring our brand to market. That way, you know, we can get more of that retail market and bless the people that work for us even more, and have a longer, you know, season for them.
Sure. Is that product something that someone here in the States would have seen around?
Yeah.
Somebody's
I mean, if you go to the beaches anywhere in Florida or California, Yeah, I mean, we have a really lot all over the place. I mean, it's called Hagua Inc.
Agua.
is a
Okay.
company, JAGUA, and it's amazing what people are doing with it now. I mean, uh, it's pretty crazy. It's been crazy for a long time.
That's pretty cool. What was it that sparked the idea of extracting that from the fruit to create the ink?
So that's tradition. I mean, the Mbada and the Wonan have they paint their bodies for multiple reasons, but most of them is like celebration, tribal celebrations. You know, if someone gets married, or people coming to age, whatever the tradition is, they have different artwork that they paint their bodies with
Okay.
and celebrate. It also is a natural mosquito repellent, so a lot of people, will paint their bodies black all once a year just to repel mosquitoes. And it's also a natural hair dye. So all the beautiful black long hair that you see on the tribal ladies are dyed with our fruit.
Gotcha. I did not know that.
The
Now, how
trick
long does something
about
like
the
that
fruit,
take to wash out?
so it's a process. It's a multi-stage process, but it'll last a year.
Okay. Wow. Wow. Had no idea.
Yeah.
That's super interesting. So you talked about multiple companies or starting multiple things down there, that being the first. Talk about some of the others that you have going on.
Well, the other company that came to be was Sonora Farms, which is a moringa plantation, and basically it's a manufacturing facility that we plant moringa trees, which is a super food that we process into tea and capsules.
Okay.
And then so we teach people, how to process it, how to manufacture it, send them to get their health cards, and it's an education for them and a job. And then out of that came our new adventure called the Greedless seed, which is we're extracting different extractions from local plants and trees and leaves and barks and seaweed. And we've created a biostimulant that we've tested on rice last year that we got over 60% boost in yield.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just a natural
changing
natural
stuff.
extract.
Yeah. And it's all natural and it's low cost. It's not like it's expensive to make. So we see this as a solution to fight malnutrition. So that corporation will create relationships with other farms that already are established, meaning that we don't have to invest millions of dollars into greenhouses and grow systems, that we'll just come alongside of them, give them our biostimulants, our biochar fertilizers. We've developed a pesticide and an herbicide, all natural stuff. And then we will get, the Greedless seed will get 50% of their boosted yields. So they're not out anything, right? And then part of that percentage will go to an online grocery store, direct to market, so farm to market.
Okay.
And we'll pull out all middlemen, and we'll have discounted food for anyone to buy. The other percentage will go to our nonprofit, which is called Fields of Abundance, and that will be dedicated to food recovery, to supplying food for NGOs and nonprofits that are already established, that we vet and make sure that they give more than they take. That way we know that our food is actually going to what it's meant to do.
Right.
And then so it's an ecosystem basically.
Sure. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I like how you have that set up. I'm curious, so where you're coming up with all the research, or how you're going about doing the research, coming up with the herbicides, the pesticides, some of those things that you're finding. Like where are these ideas and where's that research coming from?
God, I'm not that smart. I'm not educated. So, what it all the idea sparked back in 2000, I think 2012. I went to an aquaponics school because I seen this way back then, in the US market that, you know, you go to the farmer market and they're like crazy expensive. I'm like, why is this? You know, why is good food expensive? And how can we create a true organic food? Because organics is a joke, you know. You still have a lot of pesticides and herbicides. So I was in the market for clean food, and that's why I went to aquaponics school. And of course, me never settling for what I learned, always pushing the envelope. I'm like, well, there has to be a way that we can improve the yields on this, because the way that the aquaponics grows, you have fish. So if you put any chemicals on it, it's going to kill your fish, which is the feed of your plants.
Yeah.
Well, so that's where all this stuff started. So I started diving into it, and you know, over the next 10 years, we've actually developed stuff that actually works. Because I wanted to come up with a solution. I didn't want to have another product. I mean, I actually wanted a solution. I wanted to be the Uber of the food system and change the way that we farm, change that, and change the way that we give to charities. You know, this whole thing about giving money to a one-time donation is great. You know, there's short-term and long-term donations, but the problem is a lot of times those short-term donations, especially when it comes from like USAID or like governments or big organizations that just give you money because they want you off their back or whatever, they never have follow through, and that money really don't go for anything. I mean, the projects die. So, you know, I wanted to develop something that will live on way beyond me and actually create a new system that we can actually rely on, and actually we can do with the numbers, you know, because that's where it always comes down to, is what does the numbers show?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's you touched on something there. It's how people see a need. Like if you give a starving person a meal, sure, you maybe staved off their starvation for a bit, but you didn't sustain them for the long terms. I like your long-term vision there, or the bigger picture that you have for that, you know, teaching them how to grow their own food, as it were. What's kind of your, or do you have a bigger vision? Like what is the scope of the vision that you have with the food system that you're working with? Like, is it Panama specific, or is it something that can go international, like teaching other people how to do the same thing? Or like the things that you're working with, is that just native to Panama, or can that be found and grown in other areas as well?
So yeah, we'll start in Panama. This is our pilot country. We've had people from Africa, people from Brazil, a lot of different countries, some of the islands contact us. And so yes, anywhere in the tropics, you can find plants. Okay, so yes, I could probably say that most tropical areas you can find these plants.
Gotcha.
And if not, you can grow them. And this will be, you know, any tropical. You can even export it if you wanted it to different countries.
Froze on me a little bit there.
Local farmers.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That's incredible. I like that.
Yeah.
You went back to Panama back in 2009 with the vision of, like, were you hoping to continue your dad's work, bringing the gospel to those people, or like what was the idea there?
So before I came back, I was a tour bus driver. I drove, you know, musicians and stuff around the country.
Okay.
And I got burnt out. You know, I was on the road for many, many months at a time. And I just came back just to get back to my roots, you know, I mean, to remember who I was and where I came from, and, you know, kind of to reconnect, you know, and stayed.
Yeah. It's amazing how that works sometimes. You know, we don't always see or understand why we're called somewhere but God's got a picture, a bigger picture than we have, and He can see the whole vision. We're
Oh,
only
yeah.
taking one step at a time, maybe not even thinking that, this is something that I'm supposed to be doing, but it seems to work out in the end.
Yeah, he's good at what he does.
For sure. For sure.
Because, if he told you what's up, one big sentence, you'll be like, nah,
Oh,
I don't think I want to do that.
no, nope, too much.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you talked about working with a lot of the local tribes there. What are some of the challenges faced, with maybe their economic growth or development? And like, what kind of opportunities are there for them?
So, there's a lot of opportunities, but the problem is bring those opportunities to market. And when and that that needs cash. You need capital to do that. Well, a lot of times, banks aren't going to lend people that don't have a lot of equity or something that they can put up for collateral money to really make a difference. So the people that do have opportunity, it's in agriculture, growing cows or whatever, and it's a multi-generational thing. But the problem that we see now is, just like in the 80s and 70s and 80s, where the small farmer in the U.S. started going out, we see that here now. We're in a transition from a third world country into a first world country. So a lot of times the rural communities are the one that pay for that. They have to come into urban areas to find opportunities. And that's kind of where we come in. And we want to, create opportunities where they live so they can maintain their tradition community living, at the same time make enough money to survive and send their kids to school.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes me wonder what kind of opportunities there are for outside corporations or outside organizations to partner there. What do you see in that area?
So so there again, I mean, we're really careful about who comes in because we've seen so much money flow in and not have any follow up.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of opportunities that are great from NGOs. There's coffee farms and stuff like that, but you really have to read through their contracts pretty close because a lot of these companies don't tell you what they're going to pay you for the coffee when you harvest it. We went through a big palm oil phase a few years back. And it's like, at the end of the day, when the palm started producing fruit, there wasn't enough cash flow there to survive.
Gotcha.
So it's all just growing wild now. So, yeah, I mean, the jungle's full of opportunities. I mean, we have all kinds of great things, but you have to work with the local communities or you're not going to make it very far, especially being a foreigner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's I have heard some, like you mentioned the coffee thing. I've heard of that for sure because who doesn't drink coffee, and where's a better place to grow it than in Central and South America? Like I love Honduras coffee. It's my favorite. Got friends that bring it back from there. Yeah, it's
maybe I'll flip you.
There you go. I haven't tried Panama coffee, so
Panama's known for their geisha coffee, which I don't particularly like, but I'm a strong coffee drinker, not a light coffee drinker.
Yeah. Yep. Same. I like it good and strong. But where was I going with that? I'm not sure. My train of thought derailed over here.
Kind of hard. It does that when you talk about coffee, right?
I know, right? Like now I'm wanting coffee and it's 8:00 at night here. I shouldn't be drinking coffee. What's some other things that you have in the works? I don't know. Do you have any other ideas that you're developing product wise, or what do you have there?
That's it for now. I mean, once the Greedless seed and the foundation start getting into it, then we'll be opening up dehydration centers to do food recovery. And like a pineapple, if a pineapple has a bad spot, we'll just take the bad spot out and dehydrate it, make dehydrated fruit. then we can give that to, orphanages or whatever. And then, eventually we'll like to come out with a moringa cookie that actually tastes good, that will give, children in school a healthy choice to develop their brain. Because the problem here is in that sector of children, a lot of times they don't have the diets to really develop their brain completely. Gotcha. To where when they get to like high school, most of them drop out in our area, is because it's not like they're dumb. They just don't get it. You take that same person that can't do a math question and you put him in the jungle and he's going to teach you something. You know what I'm saying? So, but they just don't get it. And that's something that we're really passionate about too, is just, focusing on that age group. I think it's from 0 to 5, to really bring them nutrition and give them a fighting chance,
Mm-hmm. How can somebody like me or somebody who's watching or listening to this, what are some things they can do to get involved down there? Or is there outside involvement needed?
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is a big vision and we're going to need a lot of money.
Yeah.
So as soon as my foundation paperwork, today we presented it to the government. As soon as that comes in, then we'll be able to send a link to if they want to send support, or, if they want to come down and help do an intern or whatever, once we get the farms up and running, we'll be more than happy to bring them down and put them in one of our network of farms and enjoy the tropics.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds great. What do you have a timeline or like what something like that looks like as far as getting some of those farms up and running?
Well, there's the farms that we're going to partner with are already running.
Okay, right. That's right.
So it's just getting our company up and going and the product actually registered. Right now we're in a data grab. So we're sending out all of our stuff to different farms and we're doing the data. So when we come out with saying, okay, we can produce 4 pounds of tomatoes per plant, or 15 more cucumbers per plant. Once we have those numbers that we can give someone, then we'll come out and ask for the big donations. But between here and in a year, we're going to need funding just to do all this stuff, right?
Sure.
So that's what we're up to. Once we get everything up and going, you can go and follow us at thegreedlessseed.com and keep up with us there and see what's going on.
I know you post some stuff on your personal social media. I've seen some of the equipment building and some of the research that you've been doing. Do you have social media for the Greedless Seed and some of the other projects you have?
Yeah, the Greedless Seed has a Facebook account and an IG account and the website. We have the Hagua Inc., which is also on Instagram and Facebook, and haguainc.com is the website there. I also administrate our family radio station. I forgot to tell you that.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that.
Yeah, that's vitaministries.com. And basically, I've been doing that for, 5 or 6 years now, and I'm really enjoying it. I love just communicating with people and have that interaction with the community. I personally don't talk on the radio because there's a law here in Panama that states that you have to be a Panamanian in order to be a DJ.
Oh, but, okay.
I have a lot of fun reading the messages when they come in.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. So what's it like trying to find people to DJ the radio there for you?
Well, man, I'll tell you what, the Lord blessed us big time with the guy that we got now. His name is Luis Pineda, and he grew up listening to our radio station. And as a child, he always wanted to work for us.
Huh.
And when he came to work for us, my dad says, "Oh, I'm hiring this guy." I'm like, "Okay, what experience he's had?" He's like, "He's a kid." And I'm like, "Okay, why?" And so I wanted to get to know him and I wanted to get to know his family. So I went actually to his house where he grew up.
Okay.
And what touched me was you walked into this house. It's a very humble house, dirt floors, wood walls. and you see these hand drawn pictures of our logo of our radio station on those walls, and like
Wow.
and these were done like when he was 8, 9, 10 years old. So this has been a long time vision that he's had that actually accomplished. So I actually personally sent him through the DJ school and paid for his licensing so he can talk on the radio. And I've, mentored him through his finding his personality online and by introducing him to other DJs and stuff. So he's been pretty successful, and he's a local, so people love him.
Yeah, I'm sure. That's awesome. That's super cool.
Yeah,
Glad to hear that. Well, anything else you wanted to talk about or wanted to share before we wrap it up tonight?
I just think, all of us that are in business or entrepreneurship, I think that we really need to look at how we can create an ecosystem among us to support each other. I always try to buy from small businesses, and sometimes it's it costs me 20 or 25% more, but in the hopes that they'll get big enough to where I can reduce that cost in the future. And I see a lot of lack of that, and also, it's hard. It's hard to make things work, and it's hard, especially when you have the humanistic emotions and everything involved in it. But I think that the whole saying about how, who we are, who we hang out with. And that's something that I've learned in the last couple of years. Last year my dad died. So, since then it's been, finding that influence that he had in my life and other people. And it's been difficult, but slowly I've surrounded myself with a great group of guys that are helping me with the Greedless seed as well.
Good.
And yeah. And I can't talk on that. There's so many of us try to do it by ourselves. And the only thing that we're doing is we're just whittling away at life and not really reaching that place where all of us have in our head, I can relax or take a vacation,
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. Run yourself into the ground if you try to do it alone.
It's nuts, man, especially a vision this big, like the biostimulants. I'd be selfish if I tried to do it by myself.
Yeah. Yep. You got to have a vision, somebody to drive it, and people to actually that can carry it out. And it's difficult when you have a big vision. You want to be the one actually fulfilling it too.
Yeah.
But it can only go so far if you're both the driver and the worker and doing all the everything. You can only go so far with it.
Yeah, I've learned through the other businesses, dude, stick me in my lab and leave me alone. You go out there and you raise money and you run the company, whatever. To each his own. I don't care about, people mentioning my name or anything like that. I just want to see people improve their lives, period.
Yep. Awesome.
And whenever that happens, it happens, and I learned a long time ago that you have to know your limitations,
we've all got them.
And see the strengths in other people that can take your vision that God gave you, because it's just not a one-man vision. It's crazy. The guys that I've partnered with, we all have the same vision, and we each bring a puzzle piece to the picture.
Mm-hmm.
And by us saying, well, your puzzle piece don't fit, that's just being selfish. You just put it up in the corner and wait till it fits, right?
Yep. Yeah, it's bound to fit somewhere.
Wow, yeah.
That's the beauty of puzzles. It's the beauty of it. Well, hey, make sure you send me those links to the socials for the Greedless seed, and I will drop those into the show notes here. And I really appreciate your time tonight. It's been a good conversation.
Yeah, you're gonna have to come to Panama, dude.
I know. I'm working on my passport, and I want to do some traveling, so that'll be on my list. It'll be fun.
My kid's from Kentucky.
All right. Oh, really? I don't think I knew that.
Junction City.
Gotcha. Huh. That's cool. That's awesome.
Too many people.
Yeah. Very cool. Okay, well, I appreciate your time and hope you have a great night.
All right, you too, man. See ya.